Hello and welcome to another quick run through of some more of the advanced features that are available with the ArcSight ESM real-time correlation platform. And today I'm actually going to focus a little bit more on what we can do with assets. Now assets are incredibly powerful, and I'll cover that in a separate video where I'll run through some of the functionality that we have available with us on that, specifically networks, assets, zones, and so on. But what I will do is, there's a little known feature, and it's actually an incredibly powerful aspect, that we can update assets, and we can do so in a rule-based manner. So I actually have a little bit of a basic setup just configured to do that. So we've got an asset here. This is my demonstration system where we can see there's these fictitious company called ArcNet, and I've got an asset here called Desktop 1. What we have here is some assets that they've got this, what we have here are some categories that are being assigned to this particular asset. Now, in this case, it's only got one. It's one to do with being referred to as a desktop here. But we can see the attributes assigned to it. So we can see there's a host name, there's maybe an IP address, and there could be a MAC address. The little stars indicate that's the minimum set of details that we need for this. This particular setup is set that it uses the IP address and the name. Of course, if it's a variable IP address, you'd have the MAC address, and you'd define it accordingly. You change the static addressing on that one. You just untick that. But we've got an asset and we've got some categories assigned to it. What we can do is we can actually have some simple rules. Now, what are we doing? So I have two rules here, one to indicate the scanned host update and one to indicate the scanned host is out of date. So let's do the first one. Let's do scanned host update. We look at the rule, very simple rule. I'm looking for a specific log message. That's okay. This is a demonstration to prove this. As the action, we can see that the action that we're triggering here is add asset category to asset. That means there's an option here. In fact, I can show you. It actually appears under asset here. We add asset, remove asset. What we're doing here is we're adding a category. We're adding a specific category. And in this one, we're actually adding a category of scanned to this particular host. So if I just actually just play the specific message through into the system, we'll see what actually happens. So there we go. We can actually see the messages have come through. We can see that there is the scanned system complete. That's the message. It refers to that particular asset name. And we can see that the rule has been triggered, scanned host update. That's exactly what we want it to do. So let me just close that and go back to my asset just briefly. Look at my asset there. Look at the categories. And it's now got that particular added asset category. So we can tag it with information. We can do so dynamically based on the log data that we're receiving. But we can actually do this both ways. So what I can do is I can remove asset categories as well. So let me just replay the message that's going to do that for this. So there we go. We now get the corresponding message. So we've got the message saying the scan is now out of date, and we've updated the asset accordingly. So if I go back to my asset, just double click on it, go to my categories, and the asset category has been removed. So this is a very simple use case scenario. I'm just illustrating that what we can do is we can add asset information, we can remove asset information. In this case, it could be for a scan to indicate that it's out of date. But of course, assets can be used in reports, in dashboards, and more importantly, within the rules themselves. So we can check that they're from a particular device or asset is included in a particular group, has a particular property. For example, it could be for compliance, or it could be for some other aspects to do with relevance around the context, whether it's been scanned or not, for example. So we can start to build up a much more accurate set of information around what the asset is, and we can do that dynamically. Of course, what we can do is we can actually illustrate some of the aspects of what we can have with an asset as well. So here I'm just showing a graph view showing that this Desktop 1 asset is a member of this particular set of attributes, asset categories, and so on. So it's a member of a group, it's got various conditions as well. But of course, that's just a very simple asset. It could be a lot more sophisticated asset. So let me just graph this particular view. We can attach much more data to it. So in this case, we've actually attached a bunch load of vulnerabilities and other attributes. Now we can dynamically add and remove those that bit of information that can then affect how other correlation rules are triggered as well. Why use assets? Why not use lists? Good question. In that scenario, an asset is a static piece of data. We've got that information, we've attached the category to it, and we can attach it to that system as well. Rather than having a list where we have to have, say, multiple lists, we're attaching it to a particular reference information, like an IP address and so on. So there's advantages both ways, but typically if you want to describe the actual asset, you would update the asset categories, and all that rule will do is just to add and remove that asset category. It's as simple as that. It's an incredibly powerful feature and allows us to build out much more sophisticated use case to solve in a real-time monitoring environment. So that's a very quick demonstration. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for your time.